Welcome to Daniel Reviews. I'm Daniel Goodwin. Today we're looking at the Shark Detect. It is a cordless vacuum cleaner with a few unique features. One, it features a mount or a base that when you dock the vacuum, it empties into the base, which is pretty cool. But otherwise, it's pretty much Shark's attempt to take on the Dyson, which is honestly the class leader of the vacuum family right now, at least of the cordless vacuums. Let's get into it. All right, this is what you get in the box. There's so many pieces, I'll try to break it down. Obviously, you get the motor head here. This is a pretty cool design in that the, pardon me, the roller brush is got a hybrid of bristles, like a traditional most motor head, as well as a rubber, you know, kind of like a spatula on there. So that just rotates there. So you got a combination, which is probably a nice touch. The one thing that's really cool that is just so intuitive is to clean the head, you can just slide it out like that. Look at that. And then you can get at it and clean it out if you need to. That is so much easier than the Dyson V10. The Dyson is not impossible, but you got to get like a little screwdriver or a tool and twist things, and it's just not nearly as intuitive as this. This is much better design, and like I said, very easy to work there. So very cool. I like that. Then you also have a mini micro head here, probably for doing like stairs and whatnot. It's not as easy. You know, it doesn't look like you can get at this without maybe removing some screws and whatnot. So I don't know if you'll need to replace this, but yeah, that's probably not going to be quite so easy. All right, you get a dusting tool, which kind of, you know, whatever, makes sense. This does rotate, so if you want a different angle, you can. Otherwise, it's just a cordless dusting tool. And of course, a crevice device. No vacuum would be complete without a crevice device. This one's interesting in that it's more of a rectangular shape rather than the very narrow rectangle. This is more like a wider squarish rectangle. Maybe not even a rectangle really. But anyway, we'll see how that works. Here is, of course, the vacuum body itself. This is what, the first thing I did is I noticed this. There's no trigger here like you would expect on a Dyson, that you'd have the trigger right there and you hold it down while you're working. Well, you don't have that. You have the power and settings here, which is kind of cool. And but you don't have to hold the trigger down, so that should be easier in theory to work. So you wouldn't have to worry about that. You get a nice little bag for your things. Of course, you get the manual, which I'll eventually read, I'm not sure. Here is the wand, the big old wand, and it just, obviously, it slides right in. Yeah, like that, very smooth. Now you got a long barrel rifle. But very easy to take apart, so not hard at all. Right over here to the base station. This is what makes the Shark Detect unique, is that it has a base unit with a container that it empties into. So first, to assemble, you just take this bad boy. This is actually the top. You're going to use this to slide right in, clicks in place, great. Now it's pretty much ready for you. I'll show you more about how the extraction process works, but you can just take this off. You can obviously check to see how full it is. Take it over your trash can, press, I think this, yeah, and then it just opens and presumably will drop out, but you'll probably have to get in there and clean it out, because there'll be some clingers, no doubt. A very similar design, I think, in a lot of ways to the iRobot Roomba base, where it sucks things out. It's kind of a similar thing here, it looks like. We'll check it out and see how it works in you know, actual, yeah, we'll check it out. All right, real quick with the unit, I did remove the fancy sticker so you can see what happens. To turn it on, you just hit that. It has an auto sensing, so ooh, that's some good suction right there. I'm kind of impressed by that. Huh, that's kind of interesting. Looks like it's going through some pretty good suction. So that's an eco mode there. This is like turbo max power. I think this is an auto adjusting mode. Kind of interesting. I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to look at the manual. But anyway, that's how it works. Kind of cool. Nice LCD screen like the newer Dysons have. Had to do it a little bit differently than I was doing it. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, yeah, so yeah, you can do it. That's pretty slick. So it just runs for a few seconds and then it presumably empties this container, and then you can take this off, take it over your trash can, drop it, and away you go. We'll see how well that works in real life, but the concept's really cool. A couple quick things I'll show here. To access the HEPA filter that's built into it, you just turn this to the unlock position. This slides off. You have access here to the filter, which is just kind of pops out like that. So eventually you'll need to replace that like they all do. And I'm sure you'll be able to find a replacement, no problem. Slide that back on and then lock it back in place, and that stays in there pretty secure. Nice. Need to get into the unit itself. That is possible. There is a button here on this side that pops this open so you can get in here. You can clean out the dust cover. You can also squeeze these two together and the whole thing comes out. So you really do get pretty good access to everything in here. You can clean out this here. There's also an integrated filter here that you probably could blow out maybe. I wouldn't mind trying that with one of my little air tools. And then of course to put it all back, you just slide it back in there, clicks in place, closes. In theory, you're good. I will say this is a pretty small dust bin, and I anticipate filling it up really, really quickly, especially with dogs. I don't think this is going to even make it through a living room. We'll see. Nothing. Okay, so I finished vacuuming just a portion of the living room, and you can see it is quite full. I thought it actually would be more full than this, but I think it's doing a good job of compacting it into the small space they have. I'm kind of impressed by that. So the real question is, when I go dock this in the station, will it suck all of this nastiness out, which is, as you can see on this side too, is quite full. All right, let's set it on the dock. Holy smokes, I think I just completely sucked that dry. Look at that. Like, that was completely full and I just sucked it straight out. That is awesome. In fact, you can see it down in the basin, which is clear, you know, so you can tell when it's time to empty the whole thing. Test just taking this whole base out so that we know whether or not this works. So all right, we have the container. It's not completely full, but we want to see how easy it is to empty it. So I'm just opening up the trash can and hit this to release, I believe. And that pretty much did fall right in there. So I'd say that was pretty easy. And the Shark is charging. You'll see that steady green pulsing light to show you that it's charging. When it's full, it'll be on solid. Okay, to do a true comparison test, I'm now going to go over the same carpet that I did with the Shark and use my trusty Dyson V10 and see what it pulls out that the Shark left behind. After vacuuming the same floor that I did with the Shark Detect, I ran the Dyson V10 over it. This is what I got. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed. I mean, there's always more. Like if you vacuum, even if I had to use the exact, gone over it with a Shark Detect again, I'm pretty sure I would have pulled up about this much as well. I thought there would be a lot more. And for comparison, when I run just the Dyson V10 on the floor after about a week, I fill this entire container. So I know what my average household looks like. And this is not, even though it looks like a lot, it's actually not all that much. Now, let me show you, for comparison, what it's like to empty the Dyson V10 versus the Shark Detect. With the Dyson V10, you cannot empty it with this attached, so you do have to remove this, which is kind of annoying. It's not the end of the world, not a problem really, but just a little bit annoying. So you take that off, you put it over the trash can the same way, and then you just empty this and it kind of just falls out, similar to emptying the base of the Shark Detect. Now what I like to do every time is I take off the filter, I blow it all out, I keep it as clean as possible and ready to run for the next time, but I won't do that here. Okay, just for completeness, I'm actually going to run over the carpet one more time with the Shark Detect. So for a total of 3 times, that'll be once with the Shark Detect, second time with the Dyson V10, third time with the Shark Detect, and we'll see if we pull anything else out of this carpet. And I'm running it at the highest speed, just in case you're curious. And after the third pass, you can see I still am getting some compacted, residue. So that's 3 passes in total, twice with the Shark Detect and once with the Dyson V10. And you're still pulling hair and stuff out of the carpet, so there's always a little bit more. It's kind of interesting how that works. All right, so having just run the vacuums back to back, as it were, what are my thoughts so far? Well, a few things in using the vacuums. The Shark Detect, it did a good job vacuuming, clearly. Loved the auto emptying feature when you set it in the dock. That worked like perfect. I'll say like the connection, this is a weird thing, but the connection that the motorhead made with the carpet was not necessarily the greatest feeling. It seemed to kind of just glide over the carpet, whereas you could feel the suction adhering a little more on the motorhead of the Dyson V10. I think it didn't affect whatsoever how much debris and things it was picking up. I think it was still picking up just as much as the Dyson would have. It's a different feel, and so you kind of feel like you're gliding rather than that kind of like friction motion that you get with the Dyson V10. If you're into this sort of thing, the patterns that you make with the carpet is better with the Dyson V10. You can see your pattern just a little better. It leaves the carpet, I don't know, the carpet weaves or whatever the word is, a little more clear when you run this one over it versus the Shark Detect. Again, from an actual pure suction cleaning, I think they're very, very comparable. But I did enjoy the vacuuming experience of the Dyson V10 a little more. I love, though, with the Shark that I didn't have to hold the trigger the whole time. I just turn it on and it stays on. The Dyson, you had to hold that trigger the whole time. That can get a little tedious when you're doing a lot of vacuuming. So that's kind of a negative. I love that the motorhead on the Dyson, or on the Shark Detect, has this really bright LED light. That's really cool. You don't get that with the Dyson V10. Yeah, you can get it on the V15 maybe, I think. Some of them have more upgraded stuff, but all in all, this is pretty, I think, it's going to come down to personal preference as far as swinging a vacuum around. The other thing that was a little weird with the Shark Detect is this kind of rubber grip. When you're pressing it against the ground, it almost has like a little flex to it, and it doesn't feel good. It feels unstable, a little unsteady, and so I didn't like that either as much. This one felt a little more solid, even though it's all plastic. So that was a kind of a minor thing. Kind of letting go. So about 2.5 pounds, shall we say? And then let's just compare the Shark Detect for the same. I can tell you that it's definitely going to be heavier. It's just, yeah, so almost 3.5 pounds for the Shark Detect motorhead and shaft on it. So a full pound difference. Do you feel it? Yeah, you kind of do. You kind of do. So I don't know that that's a make or break, but you do feel it in use. I realized an extra feature that I hadn't shown. You do have the ability to turn this into a, up to a 90-degree angle, which is pretty cool. Particularly when you're using like this attachment, the duster, or maybe the crevice tool, that could be useful. I don't think it's as needed on the motorhead, but it's nice to have that option. All right, in terms of runtime, you can run this on maximum suction with the motorhead attachment on it, which will cause the beater bar to roll the entire time. You can run it for about 16 minutes before the battery gives out. That's at full blast. You can obviously increase that significantly by using a lower suction setting, or using the auto adjusting setting. Of course, they also have the eco mode, which would give you the most battery life. But if you just wanted to know straight out how long can you run it, about 16 minutes. That compares pretty favorably to the Dyson V10. Actually a little better on the Shark, I'm pretty sure, on the Shark Detect versus the V10. And then you'll have to charge it, obviously. If you run it non-stop, the battery does get like slightly warm, not noticeably warm. Nothing that you would be worried about. So no problems there. So you get a really good battery life. Again, at full suction, that's pretty impressive, and you could obviously improve that by dialing the suction back a little bit. Regarding the attachments, I would say that's kind of a mixed bag. The crevice tool, the crevice tool works fine. I'll show some video of that. Because it's a little more squarish crevice tool versus a rectangular or very narrow rectangle crevice tool like most vacuums, you're doing some trade-offs. On some things, the squarish Shark Detect tool is better. But if you've got a very narrow space, like in between car seats, things like that, then that really thin, narrow, rectangular crevice tool is going to be a little more useful of, say, like the Dyson or other ones. So that's a small trade-off. It just kind of depends on what your personal preference is. The other thing is the small, the mini motorhead that I use for stairs or for maybe your couches, upholstery, things like that. The Shark Detect is a little bit smaller than the Dyson, which again is a positive and a negative. It allows you to get into some spots that the Dyson's mini motorhead can't fit into, and it's a little bulkier. So that's very nice, but then you have to do more swipes over a surface area because the Dyson's mini motorhead is a little bit wider. Again, these are just some basic trade-offs. Honestly, I think they both work about the same. I was very pleased with the performance of the Shark Detect, and of course I've been pleased with my Dyson V10. Okay, so final thoughts. I think the Shark Detect is an awesome vacuum. I did have some minor quibbles, which I mentioned. I think there's a lot of pros. Bottom line, if you have a Shark Detect, or if you get the Shark Detect, you will not feel like, I don't think you'll feel like, oh man, I wish I would have gotten the Dyson. I think you will get 95% of the capabilities of the Dyson, plus some capabilities that the Dyson doesn't offer, so that which more than offsets, like the self unloading, emptying of the chamber. That's really pretty cool, and it works really well in my opinion. But also, if you have a Dyson, I don't know that you need to go sell your Dyson and buy the Shark Detect, because I'm not sure that it offers enough additional capabilities that make up for that would be a dramatic difference, right? I think you're going to be very pleased with both models. I'm certainly pleased with both models. So I think you'd be totally fine picking either one. I think the Shark Detect is amazing. It's well built. It is not. Maybe you've had an opinion of Shark being kind of like a budget choice, a budget lineup. Well, the Detect it's not budget. It's premium, and it looks and acts the part. Okay, I think that's going to wrap up this initial review on the Shark Detect. I was very impressed with it. I think it's very well designed. I have some quibbles. I mentioned those. I think the motorhead is a little, doesn't get that same connection with at least with carpeted floor that you get with the Dyson V10. And maybe that's personal preference, but I definitely enjoyed swinging the V10 a little better, more. And I think it's possibly because it's a little lighter. We saw as a full pound, the motorhead's a full pound lighter than the Shark Detect. Beyond that, there's really not a lot of complaints with the Shark Detect. It's a great piece of equipment. It's great for cleaning. The flushing option when you put it back on the base works fantastic. Probably the best I've seen, and it's very fast. No complaints there. I think that alone is a pretty cool feature that would make it a worthwhile addition to your home. All right, I think that'll do it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you want to pick up yours, you can find it at Sam's Club, Costco. I'll probably have a link to it on Amazon if you want it. There's probably some great deals coming over Black Friday, so I think I would run quick and get you one if you're at all interested. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.